Okay, we're going to begin with Microsoft Excel 2010, Chapter 1, creating a worksheet and charting data. Our objectives are to cover creating, saving, and navigating an Excel workbook, how to enter data into a worksheet, how to construct and copy formulas, and use the sum function. We're going to format cells using the merge and center command and various cell styles. We're going to chart data, insert spark lines and learn what those are, and print, display, and close. Additionally, we will be working with spelling and using data ranges. We will be creating formulas for mathematical operations and editing values and formatting a worksheet. Initially, the first thing we need to know about Microsoft Excel is that files within Excel are called workbooks. Within each workbook, the default for Microsoft Excel is to have 3 worksheets, which is the individual spreadsheet, um, which is a collection of vertical columns, which are labeled by letters, and horizontal rows, which are labeled by numbers. The intersection of a column and a row is what we call a cell. So as we are working through Excel, you will hear us talk about cell. We'll refer to the boxes as cells. Those are, again, the intersection of a column and a row. We will be keeping all of our files. I will have them uploaded to Schoology for you, or you can go to the WDS shared Go Files folder, which is on the network drive. Or you can get the files as you need them from our Schoology. This is the Excel workspace. What we are looking for first is our workbook level buttons up here, which allows us to minimize, maximize, and then close our individual workbook. Okay, this above it will allow us to close the application of Excel. These are just working with the individual workbook we are working in. The name box over here is the way to quickly find a cell reference. When we talk about our cells again, they are the boxes, the intersections of the columns, which are labeled with the letters, and the rows, which are labeled with the numbers. If I type in a name here, say H3, okay, it would automatically bring me to that cell location. We have our formula bar where we will see the information that we've entered into the cell, even if that's not what is displayed in the cell. This is our grid area. Most of these are displayed as a light gray. We can change and customize the way that the grids are displayed for each of you at your own individual workstations. The default is generally the most common that we see. We can do a split box where we can see 2 parts of the workspace, and we have our different horizontal scrolls and vertical scrolls. We have our different tabs. I said there are 3 worksheets within each workbook. When you open up a Microsoft Excel workbook, these are our 3 default sheets. So this is the workspace in a nutshell. Again, our lettered headings. These are for our columns, which are the vertical columns. And then we have our row headings, which are horizontal rows. The vertical columns are letters, and the horizontal rows are numbers. They come together, letter first, followed by the number, to give each cell a name. Our Excel pointer usually looks like a fat white plus sign as we're moving through Excel when we're inside of a cell, or our arrow. And we'll talk about cell content. Anything that has been entered into a cell is considered content. We have some constant values. Text values, they will remain the same. They are not something that can be calculated. Same thing with number values. I'm sorry, numbers read as text would not be something that is calculated. If it is a number, however, something that would be calculated, multiplied, divided, added, subtracted, etc., counted, it would be considered a number value. If it is a number such as a phone number or a social security number, that is not something that would be calculated and therefore would be considered a text value. Formulas are equations that perform calculations on the values. You'll see those. Okay. Whenever we're working with the active cell, you will see this dark black um, border around the cell. That is the active cell. And that cell, if you look to the name box, you will see the name of that active cell in your name box. So there are several ways to determine which is the active cell. You can look for this border, or you can look to the name box to identify which cell is the active cell. Okay. When we are entering data into a worksheet, we will click inside of a cell to enter the data. When we are finished entering the data there, we have to hit enter, or we can click this check mark, which will allow us to exit that cell. It's saying we are committing the data to that cell and we are leaving that cell. It is not a open workspace as you find in Microsoft Word. Each cell represents its own individual workspace. So you have to leave that workspace in order to move to another. Okay, we have autofill, which allows us to generate and extend a series. As you can see here, we have a series of months of the year, January, February, March. Next would be April, May. If we went backwards, if we were dragging this handle backwards, we would go January, December, November, October, September, etc. So it can go in any direction. We do months of the year, days of the week. We can do any date, and we can also do series with numbers. And we have an option when we use our drag handle, which is this small black plus sign. Thank you. We have an option to choose to fill the series, to keep the formatting, or move without formatting, or just to fill the months, as it is assuming based on what it sees here. We also have fill handle, again, which is it is what the small black box in the lower right-hand corner. When we click on that, your drag handle will become a small black plus sign instead of the fat white plus sign, and then we can drag that down. That is your fill handle. Okay, ranges are anytime there is two or more cells that are adjacent, meaning touching. So our cell range can be, it can be non-adjacent as well, but we typically see ranges that are two or more cells that are adjacent. They are in close contact. And then a range colon will appear between the two cell references, so the names of the cells. The example here is B3 to D3. This would include everything B3, C3, and D3. Okay, looks something like this. This would be our range of B3, D3, B3, C3, and D3. That would be our range. The first cell in the range is displayed in the name box. Okay. If we clicked in here in this E7 and we went down to M19, that would also be a range. It would be E7 to M19 with a colon separating the data. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is construct and copy formulas, and we're going to use the sum function. Okay, anytime we're working with formulas in Microsoft Excel, you're always going to begin with an equal sign. Okay, you can type this into the cell, or you can type it into the formula bar. Okay, you can use the plus sign to add numbers, or we can use the point and click method. Okay, once we've hit enter and we've entered the data into that cell, we're leaving that cell, the answer will appear in the cell in the worksheet. However, the formula will still appear in our formula bar. Okay, something like this. Here is our answer as it appears. Okay, this is the total of B4, B5, B6, and B7. Okay, which is B4, B5, B6, and B7. The total of these four numbers is found here in cell B8. However, if we look at the name box, it is cell B8 that we're looking at. The formula bar will show us still our formula as it appears Okay, the answer will only be displayed in our cell. Okay, the sum button allows us to do a quick addition calculation of numbers, whatever numbers we choose and add to the sum. We are going to do, it's one of the functions. We start with an equals and the word sum. We do an open parenthesis and the first of the items in the cell reference. We do our cell reference, our um, range colon, and then the last number in our range with a closed parenthesis. So the formula will look like this. And again, it will display the answer in this cell. So in cell D8, it would display the answer. However, up in cell, I'm sorry, in the formula bar, you would see the formula. Okay. Formatting with merge and center and cell styles. When we are formatting these cells to look attractive for display, for printing, we will use this merge and center command, which essentially grabs other cells and pulls them in, almost eats them, okay? And they become part of this one large cell. And then we can center that cell over the range of other cells. And then we can apply some font size, bold, colors, borders, etc., which is part of our cell styles. Okay, we have formatting that we will use in this chapter. We'll start with a counting number format and a comma style. Remember, a counting number format is going to have 2 decimal places and a comma where appropriate. So at the 1,000th place, it will insert a comma. And it will use parentheses for negative numbers. Okay. The difference between these two styles, however, an accounting number format will have a $ where indicated, and a comma style will have no $sign. Both will have 2 decimal places. The accounting refers to currency of some kind. Comma style is either referring to something that has already been indicated as currency or something that is not currency and is simply a count of items. Okay, we will create a chart using the data, which is a graphic representation of data. It is easier to read than a table of numbers. It is a visual reference. And we will then include spark lines, which are tiny charts that have been embedded into the cell. Okay, spark lines are they're very small. They are helpful in viewing a small amount of data on a small scale on a table. However, generally speaking, we will use charts. Okay, and then here's an example of a chart that was created using the data here. Okay, we can either create the chart to a new location or to a location within the cell. We can, or I'm sorry, within the spreadsheet. We can change from one chart layout to all the different styles in the gallery. Okay, and then these are an example of our spark lines here. This tiny little trend showing us moving upwards or down as the data would indicate. Okay, page layout view allows us to see how many pages will be printed. This is very helpful, especially when dealing with a large spreadsheet that may go on to multiple pages. It allows us to keep all of our information together so that the printing makes sense. We don't have just random columns of information on separate sheets. And backstage view is in the File tab under the upper left corner. Okay, this shows the document properties where we can add information about the document, name, author, date, etc. Okay, we have our header and footer where we can add our information and customize our header footer. And then this is our backstage view in this File tab where we can print. We can change our commands for our printing. We can do one-sided or our normal margins. We could change the scaling so that it scales to fit one page. Okay, I'm checking spelling. This is very similar to what we've done in other applications. However, we'll be in the Review tab in this case. We come over to Spelling, and then it brings us to any words that it is not familiar with. In this case, there's going to be several words that are not familiar because we are working with organization names, etc. So sometimes we may have spelling errors. We have to be vigilant to find the errors that are not spelling related and are just typos. Okay, our symbols for our mathematical operators. Addition is a plus, subtraction or negation is a negative, multiplication is an asterisk, division is a forward slash, which is found on your keyboard just to the left of the shift key, okay, on your keyboard. The percent symbol is on here, and the exponentiation, which is the upward facing caret. Okay, to find this on your keyboard, it is the Shift 6 key. We are going to begin the Microsoft 2010 Project 1A, the theory for this. We are going to begin by starting Microsoft Excel, a blank workbook. We are going to save the blank workbook as last name, first name. So we're going to go up to File, Save As. We're going to save this as last name, underscore first name, and underscore E1A, Excel 1A, underscore sales. Okay, we're going to save this. If you've not already done so, you're going to create a folder in your H drive where we're going to save Excel projects. So I'm going to call this Excel my folder, and I'm going to save this file, this last name, first name, E1A sales, into my Excel folder. And hit save. Now I can look up to the title bar and see that my name has changed to up here. Okay. We're just going to review. This is the name box here. Here is our formula bar. When I click into a cell, which is the intersection of a column, which are labeled by the letters, and a row, which are labeled by the numbers, I'm going to click in this cell. This thick black border around tells me that that is the active cell. I look to the name box. I see the cell name there, the cell reference, F8. F representing the column, and 8 representing the row, or intersection of a column and a row. Again, this is our cell reference F8. Okay, if we click and drag and select a range, our range is from the upper left corner, which is cell G6, down through cell J14. It is this selected area of cells. Okay, in the name box, we see only the cell that begins the range in the upper left corner, cell G6. Okay, if we click inside of any of these cells, that is again the active cell E3. When we begin typing, the information that we are typing will be seen both inside the cell and in the formula bar. We must hit either enter or click this check mark to commit that information, that entry, to that cell. So I hit the check mark. That information has now been committed to that cell. When I'm on a different cell, the formula bar will not display, or will display what's in that individual cell. I click back up here, I see information, and there is my text that I have committed to this cell. If I also enter a number into this cell, okay, and I hit an enter, I go into commit the information to the cell. What I see is in my formula bar is simply the data that I've entered there, which is numbers. I've not done any calculating, so they stay as numbers. If I change the formatting, however, to this number unit, and I'm going to click this $ sign up here, which is a counting number format. it automatically will add a dollar sign, it will add the comma separator, and it will add two decimal places after, two zeros after the decimal place. It is now formatted as a, um, in currency, as an accounting format. If I change that to comma style by clicking on the comma, I just simply lose that dollar sign. That's the only change that happens there. Now it is a number that could represent either financial information, or it could represent a simple, something as simple as a count of something. Okay, that is my number formatting. If I click and drag and select several cells, let's say going across from A1, the cell range A1 to E1, I'm going to click on this merge and center. What is going to happen is that the entire cell becomes this A1. It's almost as if this A1 cell eats B1 and C1 and D1 and E1 like Miss Pac-Man. When I click into the others, if I go to B2, B2 still has its own identity. However, A1 has now enveloped or um, assumed the identity of B1, C1, D1, E1. Okay, so that is merge and center. To unmerge or to get out of that, you simply go up to your merge options. You can unmerge your cells, and then we return to what was originally our 5 separate cells. Okay, that's merge and center. We're going to do several different things as we go through this project, but we're going to start first with just the blank data. Okay, on sheet 1 in cell A2, so we have to go to cell A2, we're going to type Pennsylvania Shoe Emporium. When we type this information, it will run across what appears to be 3 different cells. When we hit enter, however, we've committed that information to cell A2, and that information is only in cell A2. If I click into cell B2, I'll look at my formula bar, there is nothing there. So if you think of cell A2 as a layer, it is laying on top of B2 and C2. It is not part of those separate cells. Okay, in cell A3, we're going to type first quarter sales. And again, you're going to hit enter and hit enter again to come down all the way to A5. In cell A5, you're going to type children dash boys. Remember to use capitals where appropriate. Uppercase letters where appropriate. Your information should look exactly like my information. So if you've used lowercase letters, you want to go back in and switch to uppercase C and uppercase B. And you're going to hit enter, committing that information. You're going to go into cell A6 and type a C. As you type this C, the text that you've typed in cell A5 will automatically pop up. That is part of our autofill feature. We do not, however, want to type children-boys. We want children-girls. So we're going to continue typing HILDREN space dash space. And when I type GIRLS, the autofill will disappear. Okay, hit enter. In cell A7, type women. And enter in A8, type men. Enter A9, type total. So now your worksheet should look just like mine. Okay, in cell E5 now we're going to use our keyboard, and using our keyboard we're going to type Alt and enter. As we do that, it's going to insert a quick sum. It is going to guess as to which numbers we want to add in this case. It's guessing that we want to add B5, C5, and D5. In this case, that is correct, so we're going to hit enter, and we will get our total there in cell E5. Okay. Click on the accounting number format, which was up here Again, we're on cell E5. Click in the accounting number format. It will add our dollar sign, add our comma for our thousands place, and our decimal point. Okay. We're going to locate the fill handle here now and drag down. Okay, so this total that we've created, we're going to drag down. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now the end of our final number here should be equal either way. Okay, we're going to come up to F4. We've typed trend. We're going to select the range A2 to F2, which we have to come up here. A2 over to F2. We're going to use our margin center. Okay, and again, remember it puts all of the information and makes it one large cell. We can only do one row at a time, however. So we are going to do that to row 2. Under titles and headings, we need cell styles. Cell styles, titles, and headings. We are looking for heading 2. Okay, and that gives it this unique look. Okay, click on cell A3, and we're going to apply our heading 2 style as well. Okay, made an error there. For the A2 through F2, the margin centered cell should be, cell style should be title. And this A3 should be heading 2. Okay, we'll select the range B4 to F4, B4 to F4, and we're going to hold down the control key, and then we're also going to select B9 to E9. Okay, as we do this, we're going to that should be A5 to A9. B4 to F4, and holding down the control, A5 to A9. Now we're clicking Cell Style Heading 3. Select the range B5 to E5. B5 to E5. Hold down the control key and select B9 to E9. And click the accounting format. Okay, we're going to repeat the merge and center from A3 over to F3, merging and centering that same pattern. And we are looking at comma style on B6 through E8. So we're going to select B6 through E8. We're going to select the comma style, which eliminates the dollar sign. In B9 through E9, going to select B9 through E9. In cell styles, we're going to select the total style. On the page layout tab in the themes group, okay, we're going to select in themes group, we're going to select Foundry, so we have to click on themes, and we're going to select the Foundry under F. This changes our colors and our fonts. Okay, we're going to select range A4 to D8, A4 through D8. Okay, we're going to now insert a column chart. So we're going to go up to Insert, and we're going to go to the chart group, and we're going to click on Column. We want to select 3D column, the clustered column chart, which is the first option on in that section. Okay, now the chart will appear here. In this case, it appears in the same spreadsheet. We want to drag the upper left corner of the chart to cell A11. So we're going to click and drag, moving the chart. We want to move it to cell A11, which is below the data that is above it. Okay. Locate the group of cells bordered in blue. On the Design, which is here, on the Design tab in the Data group, we're going to switch. Whoops, we want to go back a step here. On the data set, we want to switch column and row. Okay, and that will change what our chart looks like. Okay, so we go up to $100,000 and we're showcasing where we're at in that circumstance. Here we switch, and then we are in a different order. Okay, so in the chart layouts, select layout number 3. Chart layouts, we want layout number 3. Okay, this shows a smaller version of our chart. In the chart, we're going to click the chart title box, the chart title text box. And we are going to type first quarter sales. Press enter and locate chart style 35. Chart style 35. Which should be on the 5th row. On my 5th row down, it's green. Chart style 35. Okay, last thing we're going to do here before we print is select range B5 through D8. B5 through D8. Okay, which is, again, the same area that we use for our column chart. We're going to click the Insert tab, and then we're going to insert our spark lines, okay, which are in the spark lines group. which is next to charts. We are going to click lines, spark lines. Okay, it's going to ask us the data range. We want F5 through we want the range to be B5 through D8, and the location range to be F5 colon F8. Okay, click OK. Our spark lines will then appear. Over here. Our spark lines will then appear here. Okay, and I see an error I made here. Oh no, I didn't make an error. I'm good. Okay, so our spark lines appear here, and we're going to change in Design tab. So come up to Design. In the Show group, where is our in the Design tab in the Show group? We want to choose markers, checkbox. Okay. In the Style section, we want the accent 3, darker 50. Okay, so it should look something like that. Now we're going to insert a footer. I'm going to go Insert, Header, Footer. Okay. Your header footer will come, you'll see both objects here. I'll need to do this. Okay, you come to the bottom where it says footer, and we are going to, on the left side of the footer, use the file name button. Okay, so over here on the left, we want the file name button in the header footer tools. Okay, we have a file name button, and then the file name will be an ampersand and the word file in brackets. And use our scroll up. Okay, we want to activate the chart, drag the border to the end of column F. So we're scrolling up here, drag the border to the end of column F, which means we're going to make it a little bit larger so that it is in the entire length of the table, or the length of the information, the data. Okay, on page layout, we're going to come up to page layout. We're going to click the margins button. We want to click custom margins all the way at the bottom. And we're going to make sure that our final project is vertically centered on the page by clicking that button. Click OK. Okay, we're going to open the Backstage view, come over to File, and we want to show the document panel. So we're going to come over here and look at our document panel. Okay, we come to Properties, and we're going to show our document panel. From here, we're going to add our keywords and our author. We're going to add our first and last name here. Okay, we can add subject box, our course name, which is CIS 105. And in keywords, going to type shoes, men, women, and children. Then we can close the document information panel. Okay, we're going to go File, and we want to see Print Preview. Okay, by clicking in File, we'll see our print preview here. Yours should look similar, if not exactly identical to mine. Okay. Come back to home. We're going to do the last thing. We're going to delete these sheet tabs. Okay, we don't need sheet 2. We're going to delete sheet 2. We're going to delete sheet 3. Okay. To display our printing, we're going to go to Print. Okay, our portrait orientation, we can change that to landscape. This way, it fits a little better on the page. Okay, we can center our page horizontally by going to Page Layout. Go to our margins, custom margins, and center it horizontally on the page. Okay, we are not going to be printing this. You're just going to submit. So final save your work, and then you can close out of Microsoft, out of this project, and submit to Schoology into the Chapter 1 Project 1A folder. Good job.